Bizarre Brain Comics. Hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host, and this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. As comic book fans, there are a lot of questions. Do you prefer Marvel or DC? Do you go both ways? Who's stronger? Who would win in a fight? If he went up against the Incredible Hulk versus Superman, and I'd like to see the mighty Thor up against Superman. But many of those questions, or at least to some extent, have been answered. You know, just like they had with who'd win against the Hulk and the Thing, or the Hulk and and Thor, and right, we've seen those guys go up against each other many times, and the same goes for Superman against just about anybody. Well, here we can at least get a glance at one possibility with the Incredible Hulk versus Superman. This is a Marvel and DC team-up crossover event. And this was from 1999. It is good quality bound. It's perfectly bound. So good quality cover stock and high quality paper inside, and sharp printing. And this is written by Roger Stern, who we know had a long history of writing for Superman, with pencils by the marvelous Steve Rude, and the one of the workhorses of comics. Inking is done by Al Milgrom, and fortunately, Al Milgrom's work, he did a great job on the inking here, and there's nice coloring in here too. But I don't have the colors. Did a nice job such a nice job on the inking that his style does not hinder Steve Rude's own natural style one iota, as far as I can tell. Okay, and our penciler is Steve Rude. Is American-born, 1956. He's a comic book writer, penciler, inker, and painter, best known for his seminal work of 1981 creation with writer Mike Baron of The Nexus, and which is an independent science fiction superhero title which ran for 80 issues. And then in 1984, he began working for DC Comics and has been working ever since for various publishers. He has even has created other characters, and has even revived the Nexus title. So, shall we take a look inside this thrilling book of the Incredible Hulk versus the Man of Steel himself, Superman. What is... Russ Manning. Okay. Russ Manning. It was Russ Manning that I was trying to remember. A mashup between Russ Manning and Jack Kirby. And I thought I turned the thing back on, and I didn't, and I've been talking all through it and haven't gone back to it. Anyway, we'll go. All the patterns. He's got all his patterns. We see more throughout the thing. Viewing the special about the Hulk, and he is Superman is reminiscing about the time he early in his career when he had an encounter with the Hulk, and is told in flashback here with when probably after and maybe just before about the time, but right after the initial 6-issue Hulk run, before and maybe before he started showing up in the Tales to Astonish title. When he had a secret laboratory in a cave out in the desert, and Rick Jones was ever present. And he's just waking up out there, having recovered from a bout of being the Hulk, and then quickly turns back into the Hulk and goes out on hopping away on what seems to be a rampage. Boom, boom, boom. Kent is at this university doing an article on scientists. This one happens to be some seismologist, and some big series of big tremors hitting, making the thing go gaga, knocking over the scientist. Kent leaves to go check it out, and here is Otis. Remember, Otisburg? Otis. And it looks like someplace right out of the Warner Brother cartoons, right down to the Roadrunner. And here comes the Hulk. He comes crashing in at this general store where they're having a barbecue, and starts chowing down. The Soups appears, and they start exchanging a few blows, Hulk sends Soups way up into the stratosphere. By the time he gets back, Hulk has taken all the food and left. So he's wondering about the Hulk. Later, back at the Daily Planet, he's still wondering about the Hulk, and is thinking about doing the story on the Hulk. But Lois gets the story on the Hulk, and Clark is to continue his articles about the scientists. So he finds a way to continue his story about the scientists and still make it about the Hulk by wanting to interview Bruce Banner, who is known to be an associated with tangentially with the Hulk. Lois is out there in the desert area talking to law enforcement and other witnesses involved in various events involving the Hulk. MPs, some of the kids who were part of the Teen Brigade, who actually helped the Hulk take care of, I can't remember. Yeah, the Metal Master. And here Lois is getting in her rental car, which looks an awful lot like the car that, a beautifully drawn car, that James Dean died in. And Rick is trying to get the Hulk back under control. He has come up with a scheme. Hulk comes back. Oh, there are two Hulks, and one of them is just a holographic projection that done by using some of Banner's equipment, done by Rick Jones, and he pops a special tranquilizer in the Hulk's throat, causing him to return back to Bruce Banner. He says, "The General wants to see you," and he zooms him off and drops him off at the base. And again, I was talking about the patterns. Again, see the patterns like in his shirt and in Kent's suit. And Banner and Kent meet there because he telling him he wants to interview him. And Ross chews Banner out and says, "You're late." And we've got his bigwig industrialist here for a meeting, and it happens to be Lex Luthor, and hanging on his arm is Betty Ross. And because we all know the whole world revolves around Lex Luthor. Yeah. And, of course, Ross is not happy with having to do this stuff. Then we're at a local drive-in. There's Rick Jones and his hot rod at the drive-in. Again, you see this beautiful retro look of the drive-in itself. You can see the sign there, the style of the cars, and the style of the uniforms that the car hops are wearing. Lois Lane kind of connives away, catching his eye, and wants to talk to him. And then when she turns the conversation to the Hulk, he takes off. Well, there is Superman. He popped in, has a root beer float. Everyone's all gaga. he and Lois exchange a few words and by chance a little bit of information passing both ways, and then he takes off. Oh man! And he goes flying over the base. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor is with Bruce Banner and the general, and taking a look at Banner's new gamma gun. You look at the design work. This is like something right out of Jack Kirby. The design of this thing, this new gamma gun, which may be a good use against the Hulk himself. And he gets a call from Rick Jones, then runs into Kent again, and they want to talk. Meanwhile, this is when we find out that there's a lot of setup going up on here on Lex Luthor's part. He is wanting to get the Hulk and Superman together, going against one another, because if anybody could take out Superman, it would be the Hulk, and it would actually be preferable, as far as he's concerned, if they took each other out. So then we see Banner is guilt and angst ridden over hulky stuff. Then we're back to another scene. This is when we've seen some footage of the Hulk in action. That was taken in various encounters, being shown at this meeting with Ross and Luthor, and there's Betty Ross and Banner right there, and Lois is just not happy. She's kind of spying on Luthor because she knows he's conniving something. He goes home, and here he's talking to some of his agents here on this nifty little gizmo that is like right out of the 1960s Johnny Quest cartoons. And Luthor is setting stuff in motion. So the next day, here's Lois, and she picks up Betty Ross, and they're driving out in the desert. And then suddenly there's a tornado right in the middle of the road. And it's not really a tornado, it's the Hulk. Meanwhile, Banner and Kent are talking. And then they get word that the Hulk has showed up. And so, of course, Banner knows that it can't be because he's right there. And there's the rental car is smashed, and Betty Ross has been snatched. So they each go their separate ways, each having to deal with it. And Luthor is just, of course he doesn't know that they are who they are, but he knows his plans are in motion when he sees people taken off like bat out of hell because of his connivings. The car is smashed. He goes after trying to find the Hulk. Meanwhile, Rick and Banner are driving out there, heading towards the lab, when he turns into the Hulk. Boom! And off he goes. Wound up smashing a brand new tire on Rick's hot rod. And bound. And he sees another Hulk, but it's with a little aid from a LexCorp satellite, showing a laser beam directed right at the feet of the second Hulk. There's Betty and the second Hulk. And he goes, and they go head to head, Hulk versus Hulk. But that doesn't last very long because it's just a Hulk robot. And Hulk quickly smashes him. Meanwhile, Superman rushes there. He doesn't spot the remains of the Hulk robot, just thinks it's the Hulk. And then they go fight all through the desert, and he saves, knocking the Hulk into the next county. Saves Betty Ross. This is when he finds out it was a robot. He says, gets Betty to safety, and then I've got to deal with the Hulk and try to make amends. Meanwhile, General Ross and his army are out in the desert, and they know Superman's impervious, so they just blast away, trying to get the Hulk. For all the good it does, because they smash into the transports, and Hulk starts throwing some of those missiles around, which Superman quickly deactivates with his vision powers, and they are then they're fight, and he's trying to say, Hulk, stop! We've been tricked. Meanwhile, this is when Lex Luthor gives Ross the idea of using the gamma gun against Hulk and Superman. So it's might be our only chance. So Ross goes for it, but it's actually Luthor's fault. He has his own guy. So Banner's not here to calibrate it. That's okay. Happerson can do it, and Happerson does do it and go blasting away at where the fight is going on, and it affects both Hulk and Superman. So this is when they realize, when Hulk finally comes to his senses and says, "Yeah, I see what you mean," and Soups throws the Hulk right at the gamma gun clear over at the base, smashing it. Oh, the reactor inside's liable to go kablooey. Everyone scatters. Luthor catches Luthor and company, and when there is an explosion inside, but not as big as they had thought. So I think the Hulk took care of all that. Then there's Rick Jones outside in the desert saying, "Holy, the bunker's gone. The bunker with Doc's gamma gun. Could even the Hulk survive that?" I said, yes, he could, because there's the Doc right there behind him. He managed to get into an escape tunnel before the thing blew up, and but he stopped it from blowing up too badly, just enough to destroy the thing, and got out to safety, and the gamma turned him back into Banner in the process. Then Superman is explaining that the Hulk was framed. Here's a robot, and it happens to be a LexCorp robot that they have built for training purposes for their equipment to fight the Hulk. And he says, "I'm returning to Metropolis to launch a full investigation into the matter, and I won't rest until I find the parties responsible." Of course, they know it's him, but he'll get away scot-free, as he always did. Betty and Banner, oh, they're fine. Everything's okay. Meanwhile, Luthor, while he gets away, his plot is foiled and is not a happy camper. Then the next day, the paper and Lois's scoop on Superman versus the Hulk. Then we see a nice transition here from the past of Kent to then the present Superman, and how they are still watching the special on the Hulk, how Bruce Banner came out that Bruce Banner was in fact the Hulk, and how he and Betty actually got married, and he's now it's sad how it turned out, yada yada, and he's very grim here. And then we see the reflection of Banner himself in the glass in this store, showing all of these TVs, which are showing the same program, and ultimately revealing the death of Betty Banner from Betty Ross from radiation poisoning, and he has collapsed in extreme sorrow over the fate of Betty and himself, and he walks off, always the lonely man, as he travels the world alone. And that was a really good book on Incredible Hulk versus Superman. I think Roger Stern did an excellent job telling the story. We got a nice bit of nostalgia in the time period being the stories being told, and I think he did a good job of the characterization of all the main characters involved. Some good action, everything, all wound up being a really nice package. And I really enjoyed reading it. And if you haven't read it before, I think you will too. If you come across a copy, I do recommend that you read it. So I want to thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe. Do leave your comments down below. And remember, comics are art.